All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Right now it's morning on Facebook. So I was supposed to do a live recorded podcast, but my guest had to um, reschedule. And I said, well, you know what? I already have this hour set aside. So I'll just go ahead and talk about some of the things that are on my mind. Um, uh, some client interactions I've had that you may find helpful as you watch this. I don't let anybody know, so I don't know if everybody's going to be watching this live, and it'll probably end out as a podcast in a couple of weeks also. But so let's talk about some things. One of the things that I see that I've been in questions about because here's the big question. So as you know, some of you may not know if you're on this is going out to my personal feed. I have a podcast called the Practical Wealth Show, and so the big question that I try to answer is how can entrepreneurs and families like us go from being basically stuck in debt or at mercy to third party capital, to financial institutions, to the government via taxation, and to Wall Street. Okay. How can you go from always feeling a certain level of anxiety in your business and personal life, and then, how do we learn how to implement the principles the wealthy have used for hundreds of years to create financial freedom? And wouldn't it be great if you could do that in a decade or less? So that's the question, and my podcast is designed to give you the answers to that. And so one of the things that we do on the show is, the theme of our show is Wealth Without Wall Street. But what I find is, so this is the start of my rant, right? Is that people will text me, hey, I just heard this show on land flipping, or I just heard this show on, what did somebody ask me recently? How to buy real estate on terms. Or I just heard this show on wholesaling, or franchising. And because what I do on the podcast, so the theme is Wealth Without Wall Street, but what I find is people always, the first question they ask me is, what should I invest in? And one of the things I tell them, listen, investing is not about buying something, it's about becoming something. And so, but people want an easy button, they don't want to become something. So one of the things I'll ask people is, on a scale of 1 to 10, so where's most of your money's in, where? In the stock market, or you're getting Robin Hood, or you heard, this is hot, or Bitcoin is hot. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do any of those things, but what is the goal? So you have to begin with the end in mind. So one of the things that we share is, there's a great book by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. And most people, so there's why, there's how, and then there's what. And most people start with what. Most people who in business start with the what, their product. Okay. Most people in the financial advisory space start with the what, this great fund, this great insurance product. And really, and so even when you're people call me, well, what do you think about this? And and you're starting with the what, but the question is why, then how, and then the what. So the products, investing is actually in our process last. Okay, it's the absolute last thing you should be concerned with, because most of you don't have any money to invest. So let me tell you what I think. And if you look, if you're seeing this on YouTube, go back and search our video, The 3 Rules of Investing. But one of the things that as you know, some of you know me, know I'm a big Rich Dad Poor Dad fan, and investing is one of the things he said in Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. Investing is a process. It's not a product. Okay, and so if you're going to invest in anything, it needs to be in between your two ears: your mindset, your skill set, and your network. I may talk about one thing because people say, well, how do I'm just not making enough money, Curtis. So we may talk about that today. And but what people they come with what, but how are you determining that? So what is the end goal? So one of the things, ask yourself this: why are you investing? So how does buying something at $10 a share and selling it for $30 a share create economic independence? Because the only way to use that asset is to sell it, to convert it into cash. So you're basically investing for capital gains, which are out of the different types of income, the second highest way. It might become tied with earned income if the current administration has their way, which is called capital gains. And so you have to, see there's certain things that you have to understand. But what you want to do is you want to be financially free. So our goal when we work with people is not assets under management. That is what companies want because they make money off of your money. What you want is freedom. Okay. And so we call it the 4 pillars of financial security. So ask yourself if this is a destination you'd like to end up at. See, how would it feel to be free from debt to others? Okay, so we teach a strategy about being your own banking system. And if you're going to be in debt to yourself. All right. The second pillar of a strong financial economy or financial security is ready cash. See, most people are way too illiquid to even think about investing. Okay. So the number one problem that I see in 35 years I've been doing this, and where I should start out with, can you invest? Can you save $200 a month? Can we fund your IRA or your IRA $166 a month or put money into 401k? Wrong. Okay. The number one problem is lack of capital and lack of access to capital on an individual level. So most of you are maxing out your 401k and you ain't got $2,000 in savings. Okay. That is a problem. So most people, if they come out of their house and all 4 of their tires were slashed, they could not deal with that without whipping out a credit card. And so you don't have access to capital. So you max out your 401k and you've got 2 car payments for you and your spouse, and you're paying $1,000 a month, $1,300 a month in car payments, and you'll do that 6, 8, 7 times over your working lifetime, and you'll literally give away $200,000-$300,000. But most people don't have $100,000 in their 401k. Okay, so and those are facts. That's a fact. I don't remember where I got it from, but in seeing that, and most people, if you got $500,000 in your 401k and you make 80 grand a year, and let's say you want to retire in 10 years and you might have $1 million, you still don't have enough money. Okay. And so if you don't believe me, send me an email, kurtmay@gmail.com, and I will, we'll schedule a 10-minute talk, or go to my website, practicalwealthadvisors.com. We'll do a 10-minute little exercise, no obligation, just it's called Retirement Ready or Not. And I'll walk you through 4 questions and we'll see where you are. Okay. And because you need to know so that you can prepare. You don't want to wait till, I'm 58 and I need to start thinking about retirement. that that ain't gonna work. Okay, you don't have enough time to make it up. And so since you don't have time, people call me with these crazy investment ideas because they're trying to hit a home run. Okay, because they don't have any capital and they're going to all these seminars and trying to get these get rich quick schemes. And one of the tenets of Think and Grow Rich that is most people's least favorite, and I found myself always bringing people back to this, which is accurate information. Okay. And so you got to get out of fantasy. Oh, I want to start this business because that's my passion. Hello. Nobody cares about your passion. What does the market want and how are you fulfilling that need? That is where revenue comes from. Okay. And so how do you do that? So what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about the 5 principles of personal finance, because most people are violating them and are starting out in the wrong place. So the first thing that we see, let's talk about this for a second. So what are principles? And so this is from, can I share this? Let me see if I can share a great book called Principles by Ray Dalio. Yeah, there we go. And so one of the things, I'm going to show you another book I use called, let me see if I can share this real quick. So this is right out of Evernote. This is a great tool. And what you want to be able to do is where do you keep your ideas? So I journal, but this is I'll wake up in the morning. It's quiet. It's a book by Ryan Holiday called "Stillness is the Key." And one of the things is that I find is that most people don't operate with any principles. So one of the things that I teach, and I'm a national trainer for a methodology called principles-based planning, and the most people have no principles. So there's three things. There's principles, there's strategy, and then there's tactics. Okay. And so tactics, if you see at the bottom, are specific action steps you'll undertake to accomplish your strategy. So products are for example, products you buy. Okay. And so most people are thinking, is this stock, or in the financial world, there's no, hear me, financial product in of itself that will take you to riches. All right. And so anybody's telling you that is lying. Oh, this great thing, you'll be able to put all this money in, you'll be able to pull out, you know $50,000 a year tax free for the rest of your life. That is, see, I was going to curse, but that I would just look at that. I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. That's just me. And so the strategy is an overarching plan or set of goals. And so the strategy is the how, and you need strategy. So most people have some strategy, but a lot of people are operating, and this is what I worry about, without principles. So this is from Ray Dalio's book. So I like to start out with this because this is kind of, I didn't really understand this the first 20 years of my career, and I was tactical, maybe a little bit of strategic. And the buy term investor difference. That's a strategy, but that strategy is flawed beyond description. Okay. And max out get a diversified portfolio of mutual funds, invest for the long term in qualified plans. I guess that's a strategy. And the tactic is mutual funds within the 401k. That tactic and that strategy is flawed. Matter of fact, 401k has only been around. They've been around since 1979, and I know very few people that have accumulated enough money in these things to be able to retire and ride off into the sunset and never work again. So you got to look at that. If you do the math on that does not work. And so the most important thing, this is from Ray Dalio, I learned, and this approach is a life to live life based on principles that helps me find out what's true and what to do about it. See, what's true and what to do about it. Principles are the fundamental truths that serve as the foundation for behavior that gets you what you want out of life. See, what do you want? That's what we talk about. We start with why. They can be applied again and again in similar situations to help you achieve your goals every day. Each of us, see, think about this. Every day, there's stuff coming at you. There's problems. There's up markets. There's down markets. There's inflation. There's death. There's disability. There's all kinds of things that you've got to respond to. So if you don't have any principles, you'd be forced to react to all those things that life throws at you individually as if you were experiencing the first time. See, so what happens is once you do that, you have a certain, all right, this happens, so therefore I do this. If this happens, I do that. And so instead we classify these situations into types and have good principles for dealing with them, okay? And you'll make better decisions more quickly and have better lives as a result. Having a good set of principles, like having a collection of recipes for success. So I interview a lot of business people, a lot of successful real estate people, and they all have principles. They all have rules. I know a person, a friend and a great client who I had referred him to an investment property. This is, as a recorder, I'm in Philly, up in Allen, and he goes, no, I only invest in West Philly. Okay, this guy's a multi-million-dollar portfolio in West Philadelphia only, because that's his area, that's his expertise. He's got what I call money rules, and that's what he does. I look, at people always come at me with these dumb network marketing things, and I love network marketing, but I have a criteria of what to me is a real business. Okay. And so, hint, hint, if you ever call me, don't call me talking about this forced matrix. This is the money that you can make, because I don't care about that. Okay. I care, is it, would I buy it? Is it good for the client? And then is it profitable? And then can you retail? Like, can I make money if I never recruited anybody into the business? See, so in my mind, if it doesn't meet that criteria, it's not a business. It's an excuse to launder money between your friends. Now, that's my principles. That's my philosophy. So what do you have when you look at stuff? So are you just, you know, I went to for example, in personal life, I went to, Philmont Christian Academy. Shout out Philmont. In 2 years of Christian college, Gordon College, played basketball up there. And so I have a foundation of Judeo-Christian ethics that guide me. So I don't have situational ethics. There is right and there is wrong, right? There's no such thing as business ethics. They're just ethics, okay? Do unto others that you have them do unto you should be your overriding philosophy, not if you would get caught. Okay. And because you can't be in business long range and screw people over. Okay. It's going to catch up to you. And so those are principles. And see, all successful operate by principles. So my question is, do you have them, and are they principles that will lead you where you want to go? Okay. And so to be principled means to consistently operate within the principles that can be clearly explained. See, I'll ask people, what are your principles for do you have any principles financial? So I'm talking about financially. And fortunately, people can't do it. Most people can't even name the fund manager of where their money's going. Who manages their fund of where 90% of your capital is, and what's the goal of the fund, and what stocks are in that portfolio? Okay. And, I'm in the S&P 500. Well, it's really the S&P 6, because there's really like 6 companies that are driving all the growth. Do you know that? Okay. And so that's why I say your number one asset is you, and you got to invest in your mindset, your skill set, and your network. You have got to invest in your financial education. Now, so let's go. I'm going to talk about real quick, because this person, so they were asking me, well, I heard this thing. Should I invest in, uh, let me stop the share. No, what do you think about such and such? Invest, where I heard one of the shows. So when you consume my show, you've got to set the principles up first. And most people don't have a foundation. So the purpose of the show is to show you, as you're building your foundation here, there are a lot of ways to skin a cat outside of equities and within equities. But then even if you do equities, you don't just want to be buying and holding and hoping the market goes up. Hope is not a good strategy. You need to, there's trading, there's cover call options if you like paper, right? So the 4 asset classes are business, real estate, paper, and commodities. But if you study money, you read Success Secrets of Black Millionaires or The Millionaire Mind or successful biographies, you'll find it's business, then real estate, in that order, okay? And then it's paper, and then maybe commodities. Okay. And so that's what, so if guys, success leaves clues. So this is what we're going to talk about. And this is what I'm trying to do on the show, is to let you know that. So here, what are the financial principles that we teach? So the first principle is save 15% or more of your gross income. So that means if you make, let's just say you're making $5,000 a month, right? So that's $750, or approximately if you have a job, $375 a pay. So you have, and so guess what? I'm not talking about your 401k. I'm talking about savings, liquid. We call it CLUE, control liquidity, use, and equity. You can touch it. You don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. You need capital, okay, that you have access to. So I have people that had 75 grand, 100 grand in 401k, great job. All of a sudden the job didn't like them. I'm like, look, you need to save money. Oh, but you don't understand. Like I'm putting in this, they match it to 8%, plus I get this, and this. Okay. 3 months later, they're fired. Guess what they had to do? They had to cash in their They had to roll over their 401k, but they had to liquidate some of it until they got back on their feet. So the blessing was it was there, but now you've paid 10% penalty for early withdrawal because this person was in their 30s. Um, she took it directly out, so she paid 20%. So you gave up 30% of your capital because you weren't positioned where you could access it. Okay, so you got to think about that. So part of that is, guys, you have to think strategically, like a chess master. You want to be thinking. This is a great book by Patrick Bet-David, your next 5 moves. You want to be thinking strategically. That's a principle, by the way. And so, are you saving? Okay. And so, velocity investing starts with saving. Now, in order to do that, so this is right, a principle is out of richest man in Babylon. Part of all your earnings yours to keep is the principle of save. But in order to save 15%, you have to manage cash flow. You got to figure out, if you can't do that, then you've got to figure out why. That's another service that we're asking people, that we're teaching people, and this is a service we call, or a process called Taking the Mystery Out of Money, where we work to help people deconstruct their personal economy and then put it back together so that it serves you and not everybody else. Okay. The second protection, I'll probably go into these more, or the second principle is maximum protection. So just the concept of that is you want to, if something were to happen, you had a crystal ball, and let's say you were going to have, you could see that you're going to have a fire tomorrow, and you were looking at your homeowner's insurance and you didn't have full coverage. You didn't have full replacement costs, and you had the ability to, before your house caught on fire, is to get maximum protection. Would you want maximum protection or leave it as it is? So most people will leave it as it. I mean, no, most people would want maximum protection. So you have to go through all of your stuff while your house ain't on fire, right? And look at your stuff. Look at your auto. Look at your homeowners. Do you have umbrella coverage? Do you have disability? And the right type of disability. Do you have good health insurance? Do you have asset protection? LLCs. Are you observing the corporate formalities? Do you have a will and estate? My wife, I'm gonna have her on. She did a great talk to this corporate. We had a chance to speak to this big corporation, and we talked about asset protection. She just told three different stories about things that happen if you die intestate and with no estate plan, because she does estate administration, and ain't none of them good. Okay, and that's maximum protection. Life insurance. So insurance is to indemnify. You can't leave somebody rich off insurance. So let's say you're 40 years old, and so if you're between 18 and 40, take your income and multiply it by 25. That is how much life insurance that an insurance company will allow you to have. Okay. Most of that will be solved with term insurance. So there's nothing wrong with term. All people talk about term and permanent, there's none. The best type of insurance is the one that's enforced when you die. Okay. And so that we start with that. So you want to solve for protection. Then you solve for, if you're between 40 and 50, then it's your income times 20. If you're over 50, it's your income times 15, over 60 times 10. So that's your rule of thumb. Insurance is not to bury you. People die all the time without insurance. That is not the purpose. Some people tell me, "Oh, I want to leave a legacy." All right, well, you know what that starts with? You have to begin with the end in mind. So you start with the protection, because that now, for a small monthly premium, you've already set the end up. So now you work to build your empire. Okay. And so, because you want 100%, which is principle 3 of your income, at death, not debt. Okay. I'm gonna spell out typing error. And at death, and so there's people that talk about, the theory of decreasing responsibility or self-insurance. That is complete nonsense. And then once you understand estate planning and estate taxes, what you want to be able to do is, if you have a lot of money in your portfolio, what you want to be able to have is, if something were to happen to you, how about filling up that bucket tax-free for your spouse? Okay, which gives you permission to spend. We have a report. If you email me, if you're in that bracket, I'll send it to you, kurtmay@gmail.com, called Permission to Spend. And so how life insurance gives you permission to spend your assets down knowing that they'll be replaced. And so you don't have to live in a barrel, live in a sackcloth, trying to scrimp and save, live on 2% of your income, and you're scraping at zero yields on savings, 0.75%, and you're forced to put money in equities to get any type of yield. See, that's not an accident. Okay. And so how do you respond to that? And liquidity. So here's the thing. So this is my pet peeve. So people call me, what do I invest in? So the person I'm thinking about barely has, I don't think they have $3,000 saved up, and they want to get into some thing. Now, I think the person had a course, so I think you should, but I told him, so listen, you should invest in your education, okay? But you don't have, he's not saving. Actually, I talked to him. He is starting to save 10 to 15% of his income. Doesn't have maximum protection yet. This is not an issue because there's no kids, but if you do this, 3 will kind of take care of itself. I'm sorry, I'm touching them, right? So he's doing this. I'm working on getting him to start this. If you do this one will take care of itself. But this is where most people are not. So they'll say, well, I got $3,000 in savings. What can I invest in? Then they want to do Robinhood. They want to get a brokerage account. So they want to do all this bullshit. And because that's not going to make you rich. And I don't want to say rich. I want to say financially secure, because you want to become financially independent. So the 4 pillars of financial security: freedom from debt to others, ready cash when you need it. Principle 4, this right here. Okay. Your first 3 months are for emergencies. After that, it's for opportunities to buy or build assets. Your goal is to become financial. I use Jim Rohn definition of financial freedom: being able to live like you want to live from the income from your personally invested assets. So people say, I want passive income. No, and so I've kind of corrected that. What you want is asset-based income. That means you have assets, a business that throws off capital that you don't have to work for. You don't have to run it every day. Real estate that throw apartment buildings or single family houses, or paper assets, private lending, where you're getting interest income. I have a client who buys notes, so he don't even buy the house. He buys the mortgages. He's got ATM machines, right? Those are assets. They're throwing off income that you can live. So people talk about retirement. See, I was going over a person the other day, and a person was, what were they making? They were making $68,000 a year, and they were 45, and we showed them that she needed $2.1 million by the time she was 60, because she wanted to retire at 60, to be able to live off of that money with the same lifestyle as she lives today. $2.1 million. And guess what she had to save? She just saved like 85% of her income. She just saved $65,000 a year, okay, of the 68 she was making. So guys, that, as they say in Georgia, dog don't hunt. Okay. And so but could you buy a cash, or build a cash flowing asset that generated $400 a month, right? And let's say you had 15 of those. I don't even care what they are. 15 things at $400 a month is $6,000 a month, times 12 is $72,000 a year. So could you, over the next 10 years, buy or build 2 $400 assets a year for the next 5 years, or 1 a year, or 2 a year? And so that's how you have to be to think about your planning. And so if that's what you want, asset-based income, then you've got to ask yourself, are all these little trick plays you're running going to take you there? Because the 3 rules of investing: invest in yourself, invest in what you can control, and don't chase returns. Most people are chasing returns, okay? Which leads me to the 5th principle, is the velocity method. See, guys, there's 2 schools of thought when it comes to personal finance. This is where we're going to end with this, okay? One is so y'all check out the YouTube, because I'm going to share on this one. And one is, people think that this up. There we go. Here we go. So there's two schools of thought when it comes to personal finance. One is so on the left, in the green box, and this is kind of from a great book by Killing Sacred Cows from Gary Gunderson. What we've kind of added to a longer list, but I haven't built that slide out yet. So, but the accumulation theory or the personal finance that you see on TV, that 97%, 98%. So there's a difference. There's a reason why there are 2%ers or 1%ers and the 98 or 99%. Okay. And it's a knowledge gap and there's a behavior gap. Okay. And it's not black versus white or all of this stuff that you see on TV of trying to, people to create class warfare. It's not about that. So if you learned and did certain things a certain way, you would achieve those results because success leaves clues. This is what I realized. It doesn't lie in a product, it lies in you. So here's what's being taught. And so the evidence of the results of this, I don't know. It bears it out. So you're taught to accumulate net worth. We teach you can't eat equity, get out of debt. Okay, so people will pay 15-year mortgages, double down your debt, do bi-weekly velocity banking, and all to get out of debt. But the question is, does getting out of debt make you wealthy? Does getting out of debt create wealth? I'm not even going to answer it, but ask that question, because what creates wealth? Assets. So getting out of debt will ultimately improve your cash flow, but what you don't consider is the opportunity cost. What would the money be worth that you're giving away to the financial institution? Because all you're doing is creating velocity for them. I'll show you that. Invest for the long term, whether the market's up or down, you're just plowing your money in. And buy term investor difference, asset rebalancing, reinvesting your capital, all that stuff. Okay. But if you look on the right side in corporate finance, I was on a call with this big insurance company's money manager. And so everything I talk about on the right, this is how they handle money. Okay. And so they focus on velocity, right? Which is an economic principle of the movement of money. How much money is like water. It has to flow. That's why it's called currency. It's got to keep moving. And if water sits, it becomes static and start to sink. Same thing happens with your money. If your money sits, it loses value because the system is our dollars are depreciating every day, right? Because of inflation, your dollars will never be worth more than they are today. So think about that. Okay. And then you have to focus on cash flow. See, what you want is cash flow. Cash flow. One, if you put 20 grand, let's say a down payment on an investment property, and you get cash flow, well, what you're doing is you're beginning to get your money back out. So, and if you could get out via cash flow or the Bird method, you get it, you refinance it, move your money. The Bird method is velocity and getting your cash flow so that as you get money out to deal, your risk goes down. Right? If you don't have any money to deal and still throwing off cash flow, that's an infinite return. You don't have any risk. You've already got your money back out and you got an asset that's still sending you money. Risk management. Do you have insurance? No good investor invests without insurance. And if you're doing stocks or you're trading, that invest insurance in that world is called a put. Okay. And or a stop loss, where you're making sure that you don't just ride down to the bottom. At some point, boom, you trigger it, you eat your losses, you go on and live to fight another day. They use permanent insurance strategies. A lot of the bigger companies, banks, their tier one capital, they buy insurance on their executives, life insurance, whole life insurance, and they store their cash outside the banking system. So that's the velocity method. And so what happens is the strategy, that velocity things in the corporate finance method works in personal finance, but you'll never hear that because the institutions make money off of you doing the personal finance method. So I always ask, well, you ever play tic-tac-toe? Who won those early first 5, 6, 7 games until you caught on to the rules? The person that trained you, till you caught on how it worked. So you're taught how to play the money game, but you're not taught enough to win the money game. Okay. And so that is a problem. Okay. So you got to get in, you got to get educated. That's why I said before you look to throw your money at stuff and you don't know why, okay, I want to do Bitcoin. Okay, well, do Bitcoin, but tell me how Bitcoin works. How do you make money with it? Other than I heard it's going up, my friends are doing it, and you're basically suffering from fear of missing out. Okay. We have a great show by Camille Salter. We've done 2 shows on Bitcoin. So this is a person that he's a course out and he actually makes money, but he trades it. So there's a philosophy. Investing is about becoming something. So over the past 5 years, he's become an expert enough so that he can teach you. And I know I've got a few listeners that have actually bought that course. So, check it out. So listen, for more like this, check out the Practical Wealth Show. I hope this it went longer than I did. So it's definitely going to be a podcast. Went longer than I had wanted to, but I thought there's some things I wanted to get off my chest and get out here. But folks, what are your principles? Get some principles, read some stuff, stop being in a hurry, build some liquidity, protect your downside risk. And so what I want to happen from the show is please, subscribe to the show when a new episode comes out and just learn, take some notes, call the people on the show, read a book a month, email me. I think I'll put it in the notes, and I'm rewriting my book recommended reading list. And so if you email me, kurtmay@gmail.com, I will send it to you until I put it. I'm going to create like a little automated thing for that. And so I'll put it in the notes when I complete that. But right now, if you hear this, just email me. If you want, I have a report on, which I think we put in the show notes, but if you text PWEALTH to 1-833-422-0250, so that's 1-833-422-0250, and in the message type PWEALTH. I will send you our report called the Creating Wealth with the Velocity of Money. And so that's beginning with the end in mind, which is principle 5, understanding that I'm going to take you back to principle and start you at principle 1, but at least I want you to know how that process works, so you can begin to, okay, hey, there's a different way to do this, Curtis. I think I need to begin to look at this a different way because what I'm doing is not working. So listen, if what you're doing is working, don't worry about anything I just said. But if you've got questions and you feel that you can be doing this with a little bit less risk, a little more cash flow, and by the way, I don't believe in living a deferred life, so I want you to live the best life you can today. All right. And so go out there and make it a prosperous day. We'll talk to you soon.